case in part 1, very recent. So anyways, we got a nice day out. Families reconnecting from busy week over a meal at a local restaurant. Colleagues hanging out to go over work details no one wanted to handle in the office. Friends stopping to grab something, maybe after school, if school was still in, like a soda or simply a piece of pie. Sounds like a fairly average day. A good day, yeah? I mean, I assume the restaurant had pie, as no public reporting outlet confirmed that. I was unable to locate the name even of the restaurant in the numerous reports I combed through for a greater understanding of the case, and sadly, I came up empty. However, we are not here about pie. No, this case involves a still very common treat like pie, kind of. And it also contains at least artificial fruit flavors. Okay, so this case was said to have been first reported on thesmokinggun.com. But I also found this young man's mugshots. One 19-year-old Tristan Statina, I believe his name is. I apologize if I've got that wrong. The incident was even reported all the way over in the UK in the UK's very own The Mirror. So once I had seen that headline, it made it across the pond. I simply had to know more. Okay, so I expected something quite high profile, maybe the key players, suspects, victims. Somebody had to be rich and famous, right? But alas, this was just another kooky story from America about the not-so-wacky behaviors of our teens. Although Statina will be appearing in big boy court for this. Charges and sentences I'll get to in a minute. Not sure if this makes things funnier when I get to further details, but I did find this crime occurred in Blue Earth County, Minnesota, according to thesmokinggun.com. Still a fun fact to get us going, and just keep that in your back pocket, I guess. I can't even recall the time of day this incident was said to have occurred, or if it was actually reported, but it sounded midday, or early evening, something like that, late afternoon, whatever. But on this amazing June day, as I mentioned, one Tristan Statina, 19, entered a fairly packed, unnamed restaurant, began yelling belligerently at customers and staff. When that hadn't caught him enough attention, or no one understood what he was saying, Statina then viciously began pelting patrons and employees with Skittles from a bag he'd smuggled into the restaurant. Well, I shouldn't say smuggled, probably had it just in his hands. Anyways, the size of the bag was not reported, so how long this attack went on, I have no idea. I mean, because they got some big bags, like he held on to a Halloween bag. They could have been there for a while. And one victim was quoted as stating that she was hit in the back, which caused a stinging pain in her back area. No idea if this was a single Skittle or a handful shot from a potato pew-pew or what, but there was injury, apparently. I mean, I took a paintball to the back before, and that does sting considerably. If I remember correctly, I think I even cried a little bit. And that welt and the bruise that remained was horribly painful and didn't heal for several days. It was right by my spinal column too. But, at 14, you don't really think things like that, so he was older. He should have known better. Anyways, by the time police had arrived at the restaurant, it was candy carnage everywhere. From the initial attack to those later seen fleeing, disturbing the evidence more. It was just a mess. However, the suspect had discarded the now empty Skittles bag not in, but near the refuse bin, and that was promptly taken into evidence by officers. When police confronted and temporarily detained Stetina after a positive ID from an employee, he was not initially cooperative. Stetina, from his photo, didn't appear to be a large man, and you should actually Google this. He had also had two very distinct facial tattoos, one being a heart directly under his eye. So, a scuffle with officers then ensued, of course, as more pointed their fingers at Stetina, and, that's the guy, that's the guy. He went so far to evade capture that he'd even wrapped himself around one of the officer's legs in hopes that he'd trip, and then Stetina could just, get up and run away. Not sure how that was going to help, but he gave it the old college try. At the end of the day, it took 3 officers to subdue, restrain, and take him into police custody. Now, his full list of charges were a bit more telling about his possible reasoning of attempting to evade capture, and those are obstruction, interfering with a peace officer, 5th-degree assault, and disorderly conduct. That would be what happened inside the restaurant. However, 5th-degree drug possession of Schedule 1, 2, 3, 4 drugs, and it's noted as a small amount of MJ. So I don't know if he had all those classes of drugs or that was just for the MJ. Now, this crime may net him around a year in jail. However, Stetina had an earlier brush with the law in the month prior, so May of 2023. He evidently was released for those charges pending trial or made bond. That information was not available. However, he's listed as not having a permanent address, so that leaves a lot to speculate. The main charges included possession of LSD and possession of 27.92 grams of MJ wax, or the concentrated version of. So that's a lot. If convicted of these charges, and I'm not sure if these sentences would be concurrent or back to back, but it is reported that he faces 544 days in jail with a maximum of $5,000 fine. For this incident, although that may be simply for the May charges, and then the 1-year bonus for his restaurant caper. Motive in this case has not been reported, which leaves me to wonder, was he a disgruntled employee? A recently let go employee? Maybe he recently broke up with an employee and was trying to win them back with their favorite candy fix. Maybe they were just being unreasonable and that upset him when they wouldn't accept his gift. That happens. Could have been mad because his usual table was taken at the moment, and he really wanted that. We don't know. I mean, the mind can just run, on all the possible reasons behind such heinous behaviors. So many questions, but one is really sticking out to me right now, and I have no idea why. Now, if someone commits a crime with a pew-pew, or say even computer crimes, the legal system can ensure they never own those devices again once back out on the streets. How, is this guy going to be cut off of candy, or he ain't going to be allowed in stores, or what? Just kind of curious. Let me know what you think. All right. Good night.